Well, hello and a very good morning. Thanks for tuning in to today's Page 1 here on News 9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the broadcast is my colleague Varghese P. Abraham, and what we're essentially up to is a couple of things early in the morning. One, to take a look at the overnight developments. Number two, take a look at what the top headlines are telling us from Hindi, English newspapers from down south. And that's not all. We'll also be tracking developments in terms of what the social media is abuzz with. If there is in fact a visual that is going viral, we'll throw it up on the big screen that we have here. And if there's a meme that one has to talk about vis-a-vis the India-Pakistan match and all those memes that are doing the rounds, we've got the meme lord here who can decode all of that for you. But because of the paucity of time and the limitation of the show, we have jotted down this particular list. It is essentially your news pulse of the day. But even as you know, Varghese and I are trying so hard to break down these newsroom barriers, those rigid structures of shouting and toxic communication inside the newsrooms. How about you meet us halfway as well? Get down in the comment sections. Tell us what is it that you'd like us to do. What do you think is an important news piece of the day, and we'll try and bring you a balanced perspective and a nuanced debate on it. Now, taking a look at some top headlines and the list that we have gathered here, G20 it seems is the flavor. G20, Delhi's preparations, all those factors, the positives, most of them positives, a couple of negatives. Will throw some light on that. The Prime Minister gave an exclusive interview to the Press Trust of India after almost about 2 decades. I think the last time it happened was Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2004, and that particular interview's flavor was also G20. Meanwhile, down south in Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin's son, Udhayanidhi Stalin, his remarks over the Sanatan Dharma have sparked a row. We'll try to break apart those lines, try to read between the lines. Varghese can help us decode that with a little bit more expertise. On the other hand, one nation, one poll, that seems to be something that is doing the rounds everywhere. Ramnath Kovind was apprised of information and movements and progress that has been made on that particular front. He's heading that panel, let's not forget Varghese. And on that note, Mallikarjun Kharge has called a meeting of the INDIA Bloc tomorrow. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has already written to Home Minister Amit Shah that why have you included me in this panel when you have excluded the leader of opposition of the Rajya Sabha? This is sheer embarrassment for the Congress party, and I am certainly going to say no to this quote unquote eyewash. Meanwhile, several other climate related information in terms of lack of rainfall leading up to a drought situation, various typhoons forming up and what parts they're affecting. All of that we're going to showcase to you. It's a power pack show. We'll talk about Aditya-L1, we'll talk about Chandrayaan 3 that has gone in sleep mode, Aditya-L1 that has raised its orbit maneuver. All right, that was quite a long intro. What do we pick up first? I think the Prime Minister's interview, I think that's pretty much something that everybody has covered on their front page, is stable government with a decisive mandate, reason for reform, says the Prime Minister. The Times of India says keen on consensus. The Prime Minister calls for G20 unity, says talks to end conflicts. What do you have there?
Well, here it is about on the Pakistani-China angle. PM discards Pak-China objections on G20 meetings in Kashmir and Arunachal. This is what it says, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi dismissed objections raised by China and Pakistan over G20 meetings that are going to be held in Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh, and said that it was natural to hold such conventions in every part of the country. Ours is such a vast, beautiful and diverse nation. When G20 meetings are happening, isn't it natural that meetings will be held in every part of our country, said the Prime Minister when asked by the PTI in an interview on the eve of G20 summit about some neighboring nations objecting to venues of some of the ministerial meetings. Now,
what are those venues? What are those venues? Wait, I know for a fact that China did not want Arunachal or Srinagar to be a part of it. Pakistan did not essentially like it, but well, hey, a venue is a venue, and India is
not about venue,
about
venue. I mean, who are these nations to speak about our territorial understanding of what our country's territorial integrity is all about? I mean, Arunachal Pradesh in no far sense of claim can be part of China, and China has been a very big irritant on it. That's, I think, fact remains.
The latest map row was
completely on
absurd.
Absurd, and then you're asking us not to over interpret it, and then
how? That response was equally absurd than the inclusion of Arunachal Pradesh in the Aksai chain and the map.
The very fact remains is that you have drawn 9 dash lines that claim the whole of South China Sea, despite of several nations around it. And then you have a 10th line that has been drawn next to Taiwan, where you already have an issue with them. Then you have claims in others territories like the Japanese islands as well. So if you can go ahead and assert yourself where you think is territorially required, I think we can also do that, because you're building artificial islands over there and just going ahead and making your claims. And with regards to Pakistan, I don't know if Pakistan even has that voice to even raise. Where is it? Not even a country to in fact raise a voice on this matter. So I think, I mean, the Prime Minister was very much in the line saying that Pakistan and China, both of them, need not in fact look into this matter.
Absolutely.
It is part of our country.
Basically,
Basically, we're saying it's part of our country, that's it.
I'll just read out a couple of quotes from the Prime Minister's interview. The Prime Minister says, "We recognize that we all have our positions and our perspectives on various global issues. At the same time, we have repeatedly emphasized that a divided world will find it difficult to fight common challenges." Now, every now and then the Prime Minister in the interview, he kept on bringing up Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. He said that the theme is, one world, one family, one nation. That's the theme of this G20, and he's also called for G20 unity. Let's not forget, he's already going to be, traveling, and he's going to land in Delhi on the 8th of September and directly get into the G20 process. He's already traveling elsewhere, and throughout the year, from Papua New Guinea to the United States, the Prime Minister has gone out and made sure that he puts across this idea, this vote of confidence when it comes to unity, global unity, and rewriting the world order.
See, when
he says post COVID-19, the world is a completely new place, boss. You got to be looking at things in a different way. There's a new world order, and India is somewhere dictating that new world order now, isn't it?
See, India has always been playing a very positive role when it came to international ties. One of the biggest issues from the world actually being completely divided up was that India had this idea of non-alignment movement. I mean, at that time it did serve its purpose, to the point where, there were these buffer nations that were there between two Cold War allies or two Cold War rivals. And what happened was that these buffer zones did make kind of sense when it came to be the third bloc of the world. And most of these new colonially free nations stopped from being part of either the Soviet camp or the American camp, and they didn't have weapons coming up from both these superpowers there. So India does make a very positive role. Post-COVID, especially in G20, India is as you probably said, India, I wouldn't say dictating, but India is guiding kind of a principle on the fact that, it is no longer a world that can afford to be closed. We are all connected. At the end of the day, everyone requires help. We're talking about supply chains that was heavily focused on China. Now we're talking about breaking up that supply chains to have resilient supply chains that doesn't get shut down all of a sudden from if there is a pandemic kind of a situation, because it was emerging from one country alone. So all these aspects is being looked into it. Trade, for example, has changed, its dimensions have changed post-COVID. There are a lot of these trade wars. What people don't understand is when it comes to Europe and the United States, there seem once in a while there is these huge trade wars that happen between these countries, and they ban a list of items on their side, and the Europeans do it on the other side, the EU does it on the other side. So when he was talking about G20 and about this unity, he was looking at that boss, listen, we cannot keep having this change, domestic changes, trade changes, all of keep happening. There should be some guiding principle by which you're going. So he's probably pushing in for that as well.
A mid-20th century approach can't serve the world in the 21st century. So our international institutions need to expand their decision-making forums. And
that is, he was directly talking about Security Council.
A solar coalition is something that the Prime Minister has given birth to. The Prime Minister has also given birth to, this time they're saying, which is also likely on the cards, is a biofuel coalition, where nations are going to be urged to take step towards decreasing their carbon footprint. And on top of that, it says India pitches for African Union in G20. Global South focus, which is already a success for India. After that, India pitches for African Union in the G20.
Well, that's also interesting enough. One of the factors being is that India has been trying to expand its footprint in Africa. Africa is not something that is away from India's foreign policy sphere. As long it has a deeper engagement over there. China has
because
a
the
much
Greater Africa Union is also a debate inside the African Union as well.
itself. Yes, but this was thought about a long time ago, with the time of Gaddafi and the other prominent leaders from Northern Africa. They tried to in fact go ahead with the idea of African institutions, like wholly looking into Africa, but that did not materialize. Also, in a wholly having an African representative in every sort of decision making. Now, the Prime Minister over here is clearly indicating about the Security Council as well. What he said is exactly correct. This is not the reality of mid 20th century. That is just after the Second World War. The entire United Nations is actually reflective only of that reality. That reality has changed. We have gone away from the Second World War. There are nations that have emerged from colonialism. They have become powerful nations, and the reality needs to be looked into. And as of now, the United Nations doesn't in any way reflect the reality of what the world has come. It's still holding to that mid 20th century. So the expansion of the Security Council is something that the Prime Minister has been asking, India has been asking for a long time, and it would be represented only if Brazil, Germany, India and South Africa is there on that decision-making body.
Certainly, certainly. Even as Delhi, the entire national capital is being drilled completely, for the G20, from highways to health centers and railway stations, smaller cities too having to do a dress rehearsal for G20. Stable government with a decisive mandate, reasons for reforms, says the Prime Minister. Warns against populism, irresponsible policies, says no room for casteism and communalism by 2047. Now, ahead of G20, says global bodies must recognize the changing reality, is what the Prime Minister is saying. New world order is taking shape post COVID-19, exactly what I was telling you, Varghese. So let us circle round to the actual point. Why do you think the Prime Minister gave the PTI an exclusive right ahead of G20, talking about a new world order? I mean,
see, the Prime Minister
there is
probably
no
laying the theme
dearth
for
of outlets where the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but the fact remains is that PTI, of course, being a wire agency and everybody having an access to it, it's not that everybody is going to drive in for an exclusive with them. But he wanted to set the theme for it, and therefore he probably chose that press agency for that factor. And after choosing that press agency for that factor and actually giving out that aspect of it, he was actually laying the grounds for that theme. That is, the theme is you need greater unity. You need to reflect the new realities of the world's multipolar system. You cannot hide any longer from that fact that the world has become multipolar. You have to also understand that in a post-COVID world, we have realized that how our economies, our people, our travel and communications are so integrated that you cannot break away from it. There can't be artificial boundaries drawn in this factor. So he's actually laying all those themes out there.
Another theme that one has to touch upon is the Prime Minister has discarded Pakistan and China's objections on the G20 meetings in Kashmir and Arunachal respectively. Says by 2047 India is going to be a developed nation winning battle against its poverty and corruption. India means business, will lead in health and education sector, positive impact of the presidency. The Prime Minister says the shift to a human centric approach has begun globally. This is not a GDP centric, he received questions from the PTI's editors about the GDP, but he constantly said that this GDP centric view of global progress, this has to change. It has to be more human centric. So the shift to a human centric approach has begun globally. We are playing the role of a catalyst. India's G20 presidency has sowed the seeds of confidence in countries of the so-called third world, and India is turning out to be that guiding light for all the developing nations now.
We are that success story. Most when you look at a huge nation that's come out of a colonial pillage, we are now confident on standing on our feet. Years of work, institutional building. We are now technically reaping the benefits of what the constitutional planners, from 1947 have been viewing, and then the subsequent prime ministers who've been taking forward right now up to Prime Minister Modi. We are actually having that kind of a confidence right now to stand at a global stage and speak about it. But when it comes to GDP and human-centric growth, I think there was some kind of idealism in the Prime Minister's, approach to it. Though he said human-centric growth, the fact remains is that GDP is going to govern a whole lot of
There's a little
aspects
bit
of
of
But I mean, I understand that humanist approach that he was trying to, in fact,
look at this, because you can't not look at it under the political lens. Fiscally imprudent policies and populism affect the poor, says the Prime Minister.
See,
so
populism
already, in 2024 Lok Sabha
See,
elections.
populism is something that, I think if you ask any person who has an understanding of conservative economics, he would say populism tends to bleed the state's exchequer. So you can point out to what's happening in Venezuela, nations that kept on spending on the people on a level that tend to, in fact, I have my own debate on it, but I think that is what he was trying to, in fact, raise the issue about how certain aspects of populism tends to keep people trapped within their economic situation, not giving that mobility required or that motivation for mobility. Now, this is the argument that is put forward. I have a different argument to that completely, but anyway, this is what is being, but this is actually conservative economics that is being pushed out also.
All right, and even as we're talking about how the Prime Minister has basically, responded to Pakistan and China's Arunachal and Kashmir claim, the United States President Joe Biden, he's come out and he's given a reaction on Xi Jinping's, absence, a potential absence at the G20, uncertain that, Xi Jinping is going to come for the G20 meet or not. Joe Biden, the United States President, he's given us a reaction. Let's quickly play that out.
Have you heard that Zelensky has replaced his defense minister?
Yes.
Do you have any comment?
And are you disappointed that President Xi is not going to the G20? How do you explain that?
I am disappointed, but I'm going to get to see him.
Well, so you see, the United States President is disappointed, and for all the arrangements that we've made here in the national capital, I mean, we're all disappointed as well. Chinese leader should have been here, and he should have taken part in the G20 summit. He was also speaking to the Prime Minister on the sidelines of the BRICS summit.
Just, while you were saying this, Kabir, something just struck me. Just read it in this context. You have a G20 summit that's happening, and you have the supplementary summits that were happening much earlier, especially in venues like Jammu Kashmir and
the tourism summit, the B20 is
B20s happening. Now, in that, some of those venues were in Jammu and Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh, and then you have the Chinese releasing a map, and then you have Xi going to the BRICS, but not coming to
talking
G20.
about disengagement on the sidelines as well.
On the sidelines as well. So, if you read everything in context, it looks like the Chinese are in a disappointed mode. Of course, who cares for their disappointment at the same time? They seem to be disappointed on the fact that India has been harping on the fact of its territorial integrity, and I think they wanted, before the G20, they just wanted to assert themselves.
All I know is that with the kind of
Pakistan is just piggy banking, by the way.
kind of arrangements that we've made, I mean, it's certainly something to miss out for. This is how, the Indian Express has put it, that it's going to be a red carpet welcome, and you can see those visuals already. G20 preparations are in full swing. The Delhi's Lieutenant, Governor, he's taking stock of the kind of preparations that have been done, going to all these places. And each time you cross Lutyens Delhi or the central Delhi or the NDMC area, essentially, you can understand that something different is happening over here. The drills that are already, taking place. Rajghat, this is where the final photograph is also going to take place. And there's a proper team that has been sent down, and it's taking stock of the entire preparations. Let me just read out exactly what all we have here. It says, after months of work that involved coordination between various civic agencies, the capital's G20 transformation is complete. As the summit draws closer, officials make last minute inspections that you can see on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure things are in order. These are 5 key areas to check out for what is a new fountains and artificial rock waterfall installed along the airport road, street art on the walls of Mandi House metro station and Bhairo Marg, a view of the Pragati Maidan stretch near Bharat Mandapam and the summit venue. All of these pictures really nicely captured in here in the Indian Express. Now the starting point is going to be the airport road stretch. Decorative lamp posts like the ones used in the redevelopment of the Central Vista, lush green plants and a Nandi statue with a fountain for the G20 delegates and their families. This will be the first look of the city, especially curated over the past few months in the run-up to the summit. So as soon as you get out of the airport, this is the first thing that you see. Nirmala Sitharaman over there, is she taking stock of the situation as well, Varghese? Everything is G20.
Yeah, the entire flavor is about G20, and of course you have that theme across the NCR region as well. It is a big meet. It is a big global meet, and India is hosting it. So India doesn't want anything to go wrong, and therefore it's something that the Prime Minister had given a call way back when it was decided that India would be hosting it. So he had ensured that every department and every bureaucratic person was into it, and so the work of this has been going on for quite a long time. The good part of it is that Delhi has been beautified, Kabir. A lot of places, suddenly doesn't look like Delhi anymore. They look like really good places. I mean, it gives you a different vibe altogether.
Well, people talk about statue politics. This isn't statue politics essentially, but 49 statues that have been installed here, Varghese. 109 fountains that have been installed in a totality. Now, if you look at what's new, below railway underbridge number 13, where the road divides into 3, one wall depicts a steam engine train crossing a bridge against a forested backdrop, while the other shows modern India with multi-story buildings and a Vande Bharat express train. There are welcome icons and G20 themed lights installed at several points, while the sidewalks have been decorated with big plants, the central verge too with sports fountains. Foot over bridges are painted light blue and fitted with facade lighting. Ornamental poles have been installed for illumination and beautification. A 240-meter section of the Bhairo Marg drain has also been spruced up to give its canal-like appearance. The overgrowth has been cleared, decorative stones in the banks have been put, and selfie points have been created everywhere. What's more, Bharat Mandapam Gate, the Supreme Court metro station, traffic has been streamlined on the stretch, while hawkers and encroachments have been removed. The station's walls also have a fresh coat of white and blue paint. There is so much to talk about. At ITO, vacant spaces including central verges now have seasonal flowers, plants at small trees. At the Delhi gate, a small replica of the wheel from the Konark has been installed alongside 2 Dholpur sandstone fountains. At the stretch outside the Shantivan, 4 fountains have been installed. On Satyagraha Marg and near the Gandhi Darshan, statues of Mahatma Gandhi cycling and with the charkha have also been erected. And at the Purana Killa, take a look at this. The National Zoo, Purana Killa and Crafts Museum have been lit up with facade lighting, while roadsides and central verges sport new grills. Quick response teams, emergency vehicles, workers, round-the-clock cleaning crews, everything has been deployed. It's all set and done. We're ready, Varghese, aren't we? Take a look at that. Take a look at that. I mean, everything is spot on, from Akshardham to ITO, Rajghat, everything has been completely taken care of.
Well, if you look at it, that's what I was trying to say. See, for a G20 meet, these beautifications are great. I just hope that it is maintained. Once the G20 meet is done, I hope people don't, bring those beautiful fountains and those art that has been put out at our underpasses. I hope people don't spit on it. I hope they don't destroy it, because the city is looking really wonderful for this, and I just hope after the beautification of the city, it is not the uglification of the city after that.
Well, that's actually a good shout. So, I mean, you mean to say it is upon us to take care of,
because it's so well done.
It's so, I mean,
in one go, they have done so much. I just don't want anyone to uglify it. That's all.
Traffic cops at 30 border points and 400 junctions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get you the actual information for those of you who are planning to, step out. For those of you who essentially are looking for what kind of traffic curbs are going to be in place, and all those that are traveling in and out of the national capital. Women staff are going to play a key role. Training has been imparted to deal with tourists. 1,000 cops are going to rescue, secure routes. These are 10,000 cops. Traffic police personnel will be deployed at 400 junctions, including important roundabouts, intersections and borders. So do not even think about skipping a red light in the national capital. Around 10,000 police personnel, including 600 women, tasked to ensure smooth flow. 30 bordering areas identified where traffic cops will be deployed. Traffic police personnel along with outside force will be deployed at major diversions to stop unauthorized entry during summit. Now take a look at this important information. Deploying 4-wheeler and 2-wheelers. Traffic police likely to deploy 180 cars and 950 bikes at various junctions. They will ensure smooth flow of traffic and provide green corridor to guide people during emergencies as well. Cars will also be used to pilot vehicles as they move in carcades, and those drills were being carried out all across central Delhi, where they were constantly carrying out these drills about carcades and how the police is going to make sure that smooth traffic is flowing. 80 cranes are going to be deployed to pick up these cars. Disaster management vehicles also pressed into service. Around 50 fire tenders are also going to be deployed. An officer says, quoted by the Times of India, traffic police personnel along with additional forces will guard important diversions during the summit point as well. So you have to make sure that everything is secure. At the same time, you have to make sure that everything is free and flowy, which is why they're constantly asking people to not go into central Delhi if it is utmost necessary, unless it's utmost necessary.
Well, Central Delhi, of course, will be a fortress, as you rightly pointed out, the kind of security personnel that's going to be there, because it's going to be the highest concentration of any international leaders at one time in New Delhi. So I think that is the factor that we have to all look into. And because one more factor that everyone should understand is that the government has gone great lengths to ensure that security is also provided. At the same time, you remember, they've asked the offices, schools and some of the businesses to be shut for that period as well. So there's heavy security, and therefore I think people who have travel plans on that day will have to take a look at the road maps, and to avoid areas where the government has already ensured that only certain VIPs
right.
In fact will be able to travel.
Absolutely. All right, let's quickly move on. Let's take a look at some other developments right here on the front page. It says one nation, one poll. Even as people are talking about G20, and Rahul Gandhi kept on saying that, people are talking about G20, and now suddenly people are talking about one nation, one poll. This is a complete eyewash, is what the opposition says. And the officials who are working on that panel have briefed the former President of India, Ramnath Kovind, who's heading this particular panel. Let me just quickly read out the salient points, and then we'll cut across to what Varghese has in store. Law Ministry officials meet the former President. Law Secretary Nitin Chandra, Legislative Secretary Rita Vasisht and others met Ramnath Kovind to understand how he would like to go about the terms of reference of the panel. The committee has been asked to examine and make recommendations for holding simultaneous elections to the Lok Sabha, assemblies, municipalities and panchayats, whether that can be possible or not. Now with the Rahul Gandhi's picture over here, it says attack on union of states is what the Congress is calling it. India, that is Bharat, is a union of states. The idea of one nation, one election is an attack on the union of all states.
Well,
Rahul Gandhi
had made that statement, echoed by Kharge himself. Kharge says this gimmick of forming a committee on one nation, one election is a subterfuge for dismantling the federal structure of India. That's what he's in fact said. Though the union government has not revealed the agenda for the session, of course we have that session coming up also, special session. Opposition parties think that its proposal for simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha, assemblies and local bodies would be on the table. Opposition leaders continue to lash out at the idea of simultaneous elections. Former Congress President Rahul Gandhi said India, as you rightly pointed out, that entire statement is a union of states. Now, the other issue that we in fact see on the issue about this one nation, one poll is that opposition parties are saying that how do you provide logistics security if you're having everything at one go? Also, one of the biggest issues.
No, various former chief election commissioners, various former, chief electoral commissioners, various former officers of the, election conducting body, they've come out and said that, it's not possible. You might debate on whether it is the right step to take or the wrong step to take, but it is safe to say that you can't conduct a complete one nation, one poll sort of a scenario even in the next 5 years.
So probably it will lay a plan for it. It will be like implemented in kind of phases or such, where you will slowly coordinate in such a way that all your local body polls as well as your state polls and everything come together into one grouping. So probably it will be a time factored aspect of it. But the factor remains is that when you go for vote, if you think that national issues will dominate the entire election fray, Indian voters are much smarter. They have shown split voting. They know how to vote for the state, for the very local, body polls like your municipal corporations, panchayat. They know how they vote over there. So the Indian voter is complicated. He's much more understanding of his politics.
Indian politics is also complicated.
Yeah, but the Indian voter is much smarter to discern through it as well. So let us see how this debate goes on this factor.
It says here that elections to the Lok Sabha and state assemblies were mostly held simultaneously from 1951-52 to 1967. Quite a long period, Varghese, almost about 2 decades. After which this cycle got broken, and now elections are held almost every year, within a year, 2 at different times as well, which results in massive expenditure by the government and other stakeholders. Asynchronous elections lead to a diversion of security forces and other electoral officers from their primary duties for significantly prolonged periods, is what the resolution that has been put forth is also telling us. But on the other hand, now, ladies and gentlemen, even as Ramnath Kovind is being briefed by this particular one nation, one poll panel, which also has a former officials of the law ministry and current officials of the law ministry over there as well. The INDIA leaders, Mallikarjun Kharge has called in a leader of the INDIA, the opposition alliance, tomorrow, that is the 5th of September, also Teachers' Day. It says India floor leaders to meet on September 5th for parliamentary session strategy. MIFT as agenda was not announced for this special parliament session. Special parliament session, Varghese, from the 18th till the 22nd of September, wherein one nation, one poll is something that people are talking about might be brought up. That soon. I mean, that's what people are saying. And this is what the Congress and the opposition is constantly fearing, that they might as well just bring it and pass it again because of the brute majority that they have in the parliament. Their remarks of calling them out, calling the NDA government out by saying that their actions are very authoritarian, has not really stopped them from carrying out what they did in the monsoon session as well. So if a bill has to come, it will come. Parties are unhappy at government for not providing the agenda for special session. Will oppose no question hour, private members' businesses during special session. Congress will push for reviving demand for a joint parliamentary committee investigation into the Adani revelations as well.
So it's going to be another kind of a chaotic session that we are going to see. So the 5-day sitting, I think we all need to keep a wait and watch policy on it. Let's see what is going to happen, because there are so many speculations, and with this one nation, one poll panel also coming into being, I think this is going to be a stormy affair, as the opposition parties have in fact spoken to. So this is the factor that we need to in fact look into.
Right. All right, let's take a look at some other developments. This just in, and I'm being told that this is something that we have to focus on next. This is news coming in from Uttar Pradesh, where 2 people have died. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. In Uttar Pradesh, news coming across from Uttar Pradesh, 2 dead, Varghese, 12 rescued as 3-story building collapses in Barabanki. And it seems like I'm going to ask the control room if you've got visuals coming in from Barabanki or reactions coming across on the story. Do let us know. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, all right, there you have it, Varghese, on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, visuals from Barabanki, where 2 people have died and 12 were rescued, while 4 are still trapped under the debris. And of course, these are deferred visuals, because you can see the daylight has not yet broken. While 4 are still trapped under the debris as a 3-story building collapsed. in the early hours of Monday. My goodness, you've got the earth mover over there that's already in action. Teams of the SDRF, the State Disaster Response Force, and the National Disaster Response Force, both of these, NDRF, SDRF, are engaged in the relief and response work. The Barabanki Superintendent of Police, Dinesh Kumar, has come out and said that around 3 a.m. in the morning, we received information about a building collapse in Barabanki. We have rescued 12 people. We have got information that 3-4 people are still feared trapped under the debris. Unfortunately, 2 lives have been lost in this Varghese. Barabanki, this is a
This is the morning visual that's coming in, Kabir.
collapsed.
This is the morning visuals coming in from the location. My God, this is, it's collapsed down the foundation or what? It looks like it's going
really
to be
gone down.
Yeah, it's really gone
And
down.
it's really dangerous that, you know, people are still standing on the other, edges of the
yeah, you don't know whether the
adjoining
other
buildings.
they are
You
whether
never
they
know
are
what
stable
the
or not.
safety of the other buildings are at this moment. And it seems like it's a brick-built,
Structure.
Structure essentially heavily relying on brick. You don't see a lot of cement use over there.
And also, Kabir, some of these buildings, you've seen the structure by which they are very closely associated with each other. And then what happens is that...
Which is why it's a chain effect.
It's a chain effect, exactly. So,
My goodness.
when one collapses, the other just comes like a pack of cards, as they collapse. Shocking visuals coming in from Barabanki in the morning. Of course, rescue work going on. SDRF, NDRF personnel also on the ground. 3-story building collapsing.
12
local
people rescued,
administration.
2 people dead, about 3-4 still feared trapped over there, Varghese. We're going to continue to bring you the latest details. Meanwhile, these are visuals coming across from Barabanki, where a 3-story building, collapsed in the wee hours of the day. 2 dead, 12 people injured, 3-4 people still fear trapped. Visuals coming across from Barabanki. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to bring you the latest details from Barabanki. Some visuals of how horrible the rescue operations must have been like. Those tormenting times in the wee hours of the day, not even enough daylight. And lo and behold, as soon as there is enough daylight and rescue operations began swiftly, 12 people were rescued, 2 have lost their lives, and we'll bring you the right kind of number in terms of how many are still fear trapped. Continue to tune in to News 9 Live. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, some other news, because M.K. Stalin's son, Udhayanidhi Stalin, he's sparked a proper row. Sanatan Dharma remark. And I'm not going to, essentially put it out there whether he's made those calls for a genocide or he's made those calls for eradicating it, whether he's compared them with malaria and dengue or not. But I read some of the tweets, I read some of the, reactions to and fro from the BJP side, and from how the entire netizens have started comparing Udhayanidhi Stalin with Annamalai, saying that Annamalai is that one true Hindu. On the other hand, you have this, convert who's trying to throw these jibes around. And the way, the crass with which the internet handles these kind of situations. See, it's impossible. The larger debate here is that it's actually impossible to even talk about anything that is, slightly religious with an open mind.
That is what my big
free mind.
The biggest problem
before we start talking about this, how about you tell the viewers what Udhayanidhi Stalin actually said and what is the controversy all about? From a layman's perspective, essentially, he was talking about the ideals of Periyar and started saying how Sanatan Dharma, divides the society into these caste structures and casteist structures, and it needs to be eradicated. Did he utter the words malaria and dengue in that same speech? Was it the right kind of comparison? If he did draw that comparison, don't you think it might have hurt other people? On the other hand, the other people, the other side of this, debate, Sanatanis coming out and saying that how dare you say that, you're comparing us with malaria and dengue and calling us for a genocide? again calls to pick up those
See,
arms. and it's a
genocide
proper,
factor of it was
tussle.
what Amit Malviya had put out. He said that Udhayanidhi Stalin was allegedly calling for the genocide of 80% of the population of this country. But see, when I look at it, I just try to find out, like, we lived in such charged atmosphere at times, especially on religion. Now, whether it is uncalled for or not, well, let's let the viewers in fact decide. But I'll give them a background of this. Udhayanidhi Stalin comes from what we call as Periyarist movement. The Dravidian parties have emerged on a Periyarist movement, and because both the Anna Dravida AIDMK or the DMK, and especially more of the DMK is more leaning towards some of those ideals of 1950s India, where the left or socialist movements were at their peak. In that, you have their ideologue in Periyar, and Periyar was an iconoclast, he was anti-religious, and he was an atheist. Being an atheist who challenged social causes. And one of the aspects of this is this, that Udhayanidhi Stalin, coming in from that group of thought or ideology, has spoken what the DMK has been speaking for ages. As a party, they have been speaking. His grandfather, Karunanidhi, if you look at his movie, Parashakti, it's all about being against religion. So there's nothing new in what he has spoken. He just echoed it. Now, where the situation becomes controversial is this, that when you speak about a religion, elimination of it, especially when you have comparison to, dengue or malaria, this thing, saying that it is a sickness, that religion is a sickness, then it becomes controversial, especially in a context of a country that is religiously so diverse, and at the same time religiously that is, towards spiritual enough, if I could put it like that. But then DMK has always been projecting atheistic views. DMK has always been looking at not only atheistic views, it's been trying to go by those principles of far leftism like atheism, socialism, self-respect, equality. Over here, if you look at his statement, he is saying that it's about equality and self-respect, which again has something to do with Tamil Nadu's caste politics. And it's only Jayalalitha who was able to an extent, MGR also, to accommodate religion into Dravidian politics to an extent. But now, I think the entire context has changed within the DMK, especially when you have believers also within the DMK who do not ascribe to Periyarist thought of atheism completely. But so in that context also, this looks complicated when he makes that statement.
Absolutely.
And when he speaks about, some of the statements,
he's saying Sanatan Dharma is a principle that divides people in the name of caste and religion. Uprooting it is upholding humanity and human equality. I stand firmly by every word I have spoken. There are a lot of firms and a lot of outfits that have openly called out Udhayanidhi Stalin, and Udhayanidhi Stalin has openly responded on the microblog website. He's saying, game on, bring it on.
So
what I stand on, I firmly stand on.
He's, some of them have threatened with a case, and he said that doesn't hold water to me, because I'm ready to face that. They have put out threats also. So, and on the other side also, when Amit Malviya said that, you're looking for an 80% genocide.
There's one more angle here. There's one more angle here.
One second, I'll just complete that. 80% this thing. He has replied over that. He has said that, does it mean that when the BJP is calling for a Congress Mukt Bharat, that you're going to, eliminate, eradicate all the congressmen? It's not that. He is saying that he is looking at the elimination of an idea. So, ideology, religion, and a hefty mix. And by the way, Tamil Nadu is a place of temples. It is, ironically enough, everything exists in Tamil Nadu. You have an atheist who is looking after temples, and then you have a theist who might be looking at certain aspects of atheism. So, being very complicated, I think it should be...
people on the internet calling out Udhayanidhi's atheism as well.
Udhayanidhi's atheism
and also, putting out those pictures where he's, inside a church. Also comparing those pictures, putting out Annamalai's picture where he's taking part in that Kavad Yatra. That's the comparison that they're constantly drawing. And whilst that comparison is being drawn, and we'll play out that reaction of Udhayanidhi Stalin, exactly what he spoke and where he spoke. it's important to note here that everywhere all the politicians are constantly saying, and this guy is also part of that INDIA alliance. DMK
Exactly,
is part
that
of
is
that
their
INDIA alliance.
And you know, ironically enough, you had Karthi Chidambaram coming in defense of, Udhayanidhi Stalin. So that idea of INDIA,
Beneficiaries of
DMK and Congress coming
Hippocratic
together,
hierarchy,
yes, exactly.
that particular statement coming
So
from
that
Karthi
is-
Chidambaram.
so
Let's
that
first
is
listen
it.
into
Let's
what
listen to
Udhayanidhi
debate, yeah.
Stalin had to say. Varghese is here, right here in the studio if need any sort of translation as well. Let's quickly listen into what the son of the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu and DMK leader Udhayanidhi Stalin had to say.
இருவரும் இணைந்து நடத்தக்கூடிய இந்திய அளவில் 10 அணிகள் வந்து வருடம் இங்கே நடத்துகிறாங்க. இந்த வருடம் அதுவும் இந்த ஏஷியன் கப் ஹாக்கிக்கு அப்புறம் புனரமைக்கப்பட்ட இந்த விளையாட்டு மைதானத்தில் அவங்க முதல்ல இந்த வருஷம் இந்த ஹாக்கி கோப்பை போட்டியை வந்து சிறப்பாக நடத்தியிருக்கிறாங்க.
Well, so that's the reaction coming across from Udhayanidhi Stalin. Essentially suggesting that, well, what he meant is coming from a place of logical sound and reasoning, and he's not going to back down.
Well, I couldn't in fact follow exactly because I was not getting the proper audio for it, but I think we can read it from his statements from X as well as other microblogging websites that he was actually speaking from a very Periyarist kind of a situation, and because he was speaking from a very Periyarist kind of a thing, it's not going to be palpable because Periyarism is meant on, as I said, iconoclasm. But having said that, I think for one thing is that when you said that Annamalai is being compared to Udhayanidhi Stalin, I think a lot of right-wingers are playing straight into the DMK game, where DMK is trying to segregate all right-wingers at one go. And when they do that, the DMK in fact would try to say that, see, this is what we were representing Tamil and Tamil culture as. These people are what they are trying to get. And remember, the BJP has been carrying out with a lot of outreach programs with Tamil leaders within Tamil Nadu. Remember the Saurashtra Tamil Sangamam,
right,
or the Banaras Tamil Sangamam, where Varanasi, you had people being taken from Tamil Nadu. So they were trying to build that linkages, saying that you have a connection with Sanatan Dharma, and then you have this ideological sharpness coming in all of a sudden. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this is
Today
going to play
at
out.
11, again, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a full-blown show on this particular reaction by Udhayanidhi Stalin, and Varghese, my friend, is going to be at the helm of that particular show. We'll have the right kind of voices. We'll have, of course, a BJP voice, a DMK voice, a voice that is from Tamil Nadu, and a voice that is a political analyst. We'll bring you a rounded debate on essentially what he had to say. Before we move on, this is what Amit Malviya actually had to say, and on social media it's always Amit Malviya that's stirring up that little storm, and then it's a full-blown row. Udhayanidhi Stalin, son of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin and a minister in the DMK government, has linked Sanatan Dharma to malaria and dengue. He is of the opinion that it must be eradicated and not merely opposed. In short, he is calling for genocide of 80% population of Bharat who follow Sanatan Dharma. DMK is a prominent member of the opposition bloc and a long-standing ally of the Congress party. Is this what was agreed in the Mumbai meet? To which Udhayanidhi Stalin then says, I never called for the genocide of the people who are following Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is a principle that divides people in the name of caste and religion. Uprooting Sanatan Dharma is upholding humanity and human equality. I stand firmly by every word I have spoken. I spoke on behalf of the oppressed and marginalized who suffer due to Sanatan Dharma. I am ready to represent the extensive writings of Periyar and Ambedkar, who conducted in-depth research on Sanatan Dharma and its negative impact on society in any forum. Let me reiterate the crucial aspect of my speech. And he quotes himself. He said, I believe, like the spread of diseases like COVID-19, dengue and malaria by mosquitoes, that Sanatan Dharma is responsible for many social evils. I am prepared to confront any challenges that come my way, whether in a court of law or the people's court. Stop spreading fake news, Amit Malviya, is what he had to say. 11 a.m., ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get down to the bottom of this and understand what really is at play, because the INDIA alliance is always making its fray everywhere, name into the fray, beg your pardon. Well, join us at 11 a.m. All right then, something happening in Maharashtra that needs to be looked at a little more closely as well, Varghese. There's a proper quota row that has now blown apart, and Friday We saw lathi charge over there as well. And this is what that's written on the front page over here. It says, Maratha quota stir. The Maharashtra government has sent Jalna SP Tushar Doshi on compulsory leave in the wake of the lathi charge on Friday to clear a pandal at a village in the district where an activist was on a hunger strike over the Maratha quota issue. The incident triggered bandh calls. What is it that you are picking up, Varghese? Take a look at that. Take a look at those visuals. Lathi charge that turned really ugly, vandalism, arson, stone pelting as well.
Well, this Maratha quota has been a long pending demand from the Maratha community, and issue is that though the government tried to push it, it has always seen the scrutiny of the court, because of which, you know, the reservations were not being able to be put across as they are supposed to be put out. And the quota stir has been going on for quite some time. As you said, this started off after one of the activists decided to go on fast, and then people started to gather around him. The Maratha protest is going to be a very big protest for Eknath Shinde to deal with, because this is in the sentiment of the people, the Marathas being the majority when it comes to certain regions. Politically, it's not going to be prudent enough not to address that issue, but how to address that issue is going to be much complicated, because I said earlier also they tried to push the reservations for the Marathas, but it had it did not stand the scrutiny of the courts. So those issues are again going to become one of the factors in this, and it
Take a
could
look at
put
those lathi charge
Eknath Shinde
visuals,
into
Varghese. Take a look at that.
It could put Eknath Shinde into a catch-22 kind of a situation.
It very well could. It very well could. In terms of the developing politics in Maharashtra, and we're looking at these lathi charge visuals from various angles, because you know, a lot of injuries happened on Friday. Take a look at that. People got beaten black and blue, and you're right, this is going to put Eknath Shinde in a catch-22 situation. But what about the larger politics in Maharashtra? NCP is in a split, the Shiv Sena is in a split. We're so close to the Lok Sabha polls. Very recently, the INDIA Bloc's meeting took place in Maharashtra. Isn't all of that going to play out over here as well?
It could play out over here, and the fact remains is that this is when two Maratha leaders, NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar, who's also a Maratha, as well as the Uddhav Thackeray, both of them could capitalize on this factor completely. And you know,
now there were various demands.
The question would be asked: does Eknath Shinde,
Devendra Fadnavis to step down? There were various calls that were made for Deputy Chief Minister to step down.
You know, the issue that is going to happen over here is that when it comes to Eknath Shinde, the question that would be asked by the UPT faction is that does he actually represent the interests of the Marathas? If that was the case, you wouldn't have seen the kind of bait and charge that happened on Saturday and the kind of violence that broke. But remember, this quota was struck down by the Supreme Court. So that's why I'm saying the stir has been going on. It's going to be a catch-22 situation. How they are a politically dominant community when it comes to Marathas, and it's not easy to pacify them. Maratha quota stir could have an unsettling effect on the NCP, with the NCP Shinde as well as the BJP alliance over here, which is to say the breakaway factions, the Shinde faction as well as Ajit Pawar faction, could be a very unsettling issue across Maharashtra. So this quota stir could turn out to be a big political headache for the alliance.
Latest information coming right across from the Deputy Chief Minister's office. Take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis talked with Maratha agitation leader Manoj Jarane Patil and called him for discussions. Rajya Sabha MP and Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's descendant Udhayanidhi Bhosle had also requested Chief Minister for a discussion on the issue. Deputy Chief Minister assured Jarange Patil that justice would prevail in Jalna incident, which is what we saw. The government is hopeful that a meeting with Maharashtra's agitation leaders will take place soon. Also, today's Cabinet Subcommittee on Maratha Reservation will meet in the afternoon. Today, Chief Minister and both Deputy CMs will be present in the Maratha Reservation related subcommittee meeting. This coming right out of the Deputy Chief Minister's office, Devendra Fadnavis's office, which I'm reading here. The Lathi charge triggered protests and Bandh calls across the state with demands for the resignation of the Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, who holds the Home Ministry portfolio. Protests continued in parts of Jalna, and of course, we've been showing those visuals to you.
There is unfortunately a caste angle that is also being played over here. The Marathas versus, the Deputy Chief Minister's this thing. That is again going to be a worrisome factor in this.
Several Maratha organizations called a bandh on Monday in Chhatrapati Sambhaji Nagar, formerly Aurangabad, to protest against the lathi charge under the banner of Sakal Maratha Samaj. These groups are striving for a complete and peaceful shutdown. Schools, colleges and other establishments are expected to remain closed. Some schools have declared a holiday for Monday, but bus services were disrupted for the second consecutive day in Ahmednagar and Nandarbar districts due to Maratha organizations' bandh call from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday as well. Well, what's going to happen in Maharashtra is something that we're going to also keep a close eye and focus on, ladies and gentlemen. But those are the visuals that you're seeing on your television screens and mobile screens, whatever screen you're watching this particular stream on connected TV. The media, the News9 Mediaverse is available across all platforms, ladies and gentlemen. September 1st and September 2nd visuals on your screens. Now, Varghese, let's also throw some light on our space research and space odyssey as well. ISRO on Saturday launched Aditya-L1, our first space-based observatory class solar mission. It's going to go to Lagrange point 1 and study the sun from an unobstructed view. I mean, there is no hard and heavy load camera payload on the Aditya-L1, but let me tell you, the pictures and the visuals that the spacecraft is going to see finally from that particular Lagrange 1 point is going to be just impeccable. Now, that's the latest information, the tweet that has been put out by ISRO on your screens. September 3rd at 11:40 hours from the Earth towards the Sun, the orbit raising maneuver has been completed successfully. This is what you can see on your screens already. To the Sun, Earth, Lagrange point L1. And I was reading somewhere here in one of the newspapers that the health of the spacecraft of Aditya-L1 is also absolutely fine. It's fit and healthy. Well, there you go. There you have it. Aditya-L1 is healthy. Spacecraft's first orbit-raising move is successful. This coming out from the Indian Space Research Organization. Solar mission spacecraft's next maneuver will be early on Tuesday. The observatory class spacecraft is carrying 7 payloads. The main objective of the mission is to get a deeper understanding of the sun and how its radiation, heat, flow of particles and magnetic fields affects the Earth. Studying the sun from the space ensures that there are no distortions to the measurements that would be experienced on Earth due to the atmosphere, magnetic fields and the dust particles. So, you're basically going there in the sun, in the space and studying the sun from space, and it's important because it's the closest star that we have. The next possible star is about 4.5 light years away,
Proxima Centauri.
And that's about more than a decade in terms of spacecraft.
The current thing would take us like maybe 3 generations to reach that star system. Because 4.5 light years, we don't have the technology even to travel at light year speed to reach there. But this being the closest star that we have been studying its impact on us, and Aditya-L1 is one of the first attempts to study, the sun from our side, that is from ISRO's side. There have been other nations that have sent probes as well, but the mission seems to be doing well, and I think Kabir, as you rightly pointed out, we will get some really surprising data and also very good pictures itself. The first orbit raising maneuver is successful.
But that's what I'm saying, Varghese, we won't get very good pictures from Aditya-L1 because it is there to study the sun. Our objective of sending Aditya over there is not to be bringing back pictures. That's why it doesn't have a heavy load, heavy duty camera payload.
No, I'm not saying in the sense that from that particular point, there won't be any disturbances as such to study the sun. So there won't be any thing that would affect the picture
Right.
as such, but it would have a great view from there.
Now, even as we talk about Aditya-L1, and the next maneuver is of course going to be on Tuesday early in the morning. I'm just going to take a look at what ISRO has put out in terms of our Chandrayaan 3. When you're looking at Chandrayaan 3, ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, and it's really sad, and it was a very emotional tweet that was put out, and this is what it says. It says the Pragyan rover completed its assignments. It is now safely parked and set into sleep mode. APXS and LIBS payloads have been turned off. Data from these payloads has been transmitted to Earth via the lander. Currently, the battery is fully charged. The solar panel is oriented to receive the light at the next sunrise, because right now it's really cold on the South Pole on the lunar surface, and our Pragyan rover and Vikram lander are sleeping. We can only hope that when the sun rises up again, and this is what it says. The solar panel is oriented to receive the light at the next sunrise, which is expected to take place on the 22nd of this month. The receiver has been kept on, hoping for a successful awakening for another set of assignments, else it will forever stay there as India's lunar ambassador. So it could very well be goodbyes, but everybody's hoping that it's going to be another day. ISRO's efforts to communicate in a way that many people can understand are noticeable thanks to the Indian space research organizations. People are saying, I have tears in my eyes while reading this. You and Vikram lander have achieved the impossible. You both are forever part of our families. Generations will remember your achievement. Please wake up on the 22nd of September. We really want our rover to again wake up, do its little thing over there, because it already has done the task of carrying out the scientific experimentation, and it felt like a little part of you was up there. But right now, Chandrayaan 3, ladies and gentlemen, is on sleep mode. Varghese, are you emotional? I mean, from Chandrayaan 2 to the landing to finally the successful carrying out of experimentation?
Well, when you talk about Chandrayaan 3, the trepidation with which a lot of scientists were thinking they would be able to do it or not was there just till the moment it landed. Once it landed, they waited for Pragyan to happen, and then the kind of data Pragyan was sending back. It's been a wonderful 14-day journey that we have seen. I was asking you in the morning when they said, is it on sleep mode already? I was like expecting more of an adventure. Then you told me,
landed on 23rd of August, so
yeah.
already 14 days is all we had. That's just one lunar day. It worked for just one lunar day. Can you believe it? And it's well now sleeping.
Yeah, but remember Mangalyaan, when they sent it, they said that hardly 6 months it would be there. But then it stood there for years together. Yeah. So I'm...
All right, fingers crossed.
Let's see
hope
what
that,
Pragyan should be there after 14 days. Probably we'll be
wake
having
up after
a
14
story.
days.
Yeah, we'll have a story saying that Pragyan has woken up after 14 days.
All right. Now, shifting our focus here, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Kotak Mahindra, because this bank, the MD and CEO of this bank, the founder of this bank, who was at the helm of affairs for more than 2 decades, suddenly stepped down 4 months ahead of his term ending. Uday Kotak, the founder, MD and CEO, former MD and CEO of Kotak Mahindra Bank. We're trying to understand who's going to be the successor. Now, there is some news on that front as well, ladies and gentlemen. It says Kotak Mahindra backs exes in race for CEO's job. Kotak Mahindra banks his 2 whole-time directors, KVS Manian and Shanti Ekambaram, are seen as key internal contenders to succeed Uday Kotak, reports Mayur Shetty for the Times of India. The former second in command, Deepak Gupta, who's currently, I think, the interim CEO, he cannot take the director's post essentially because of some sort of RBI guidelines. So the 2 names that have come across is that of KVS Manian and Shanti Ekambaram, who are seen as key internal contenders to succeed Uday Kotak.
Well, that's going to be Kotak will, however, continue as a non-executive director of the bank, is what it's saying. Uday Kotak's tenure, as you pointed out, as chief officer and managing director of the bank would be ending in December 31st, 2023. So till then, Deepak Gupta will be handling the affairs, that too subject to approval of the RBI as a joint, joint managing director is what they give, JMD. So
Banks' veterans are amongst the contenders. Now, Shanti Ekambaram, let me just tell you, give you a heads up of who these 2 people essentially are. Take a look at this. Bank veterans among contenders, Shanti Ekambaram and KVS Manian. Let's talk about Shanti Kambram first. She heads the consumer banking division of Kotak Bank. Around 60 years of age, has been with the group for 30 plus years. Started her career running the trade finance business of Kotak Mahindra Finance, which was one of the core verticals at the time. Headed corporate banking, served as CEO of the investment banking unit. Now KVS Manian, currently whole-time director in charge of the corporate, institutional and investment banking. Around 60 years of age, joined the group in 1994. Started with consumer banking before leading their corporate bank. RBI is expected to clear one of the two candidates for the top job before Gupta's term ends. It does a thorough fit and proper check, is what they call it, a fit and proper check before approving the name. Uday Kotak, son of Uday Kotak, has a long way to go to gain business acumen and democratic leadership skills, said MK Global in a report last year. So basically it's whole-time directors and former directors who are in the race, Manian, Ekambaram, who are key eternal candidates, interim CEO Gupta, who is ineligible because of RBI's cap on the tenure, and Uday Kotak's son is certainly not equipped with the right kind of business acumen to be carrying this particular job out. So Uday Kotak is going to be in the periphery, he is going to do the job, but it's essentially KVS Manian and Shanti Ekambaram who are going to be in the run-up and in the lead to this this change of guard. Kotak Bank, have you had a chance? Have you ever opened a bank account with Kotak Mahindra?
I have not opened with Kotak at all, but
their advertisements used to be really nice.
There was actually very.
That's how they took everybody by a storm.
Yeah, they took a. I mean, Uday Kotak did in fact proceed over the growth of that company. They also ensured that some kind of refreshing ideas were also put out when it came to the financial sector. But then this sudden step down is something, especially when your term was ending somewhere in 31st of December, why the sudden step down happened is what everyone is in fact looking at.
All right then, that's a big long tweet, TLDR and TMI, which is why I think many people did not read it, the entirety of it. But he does put across, his feelings in that particular microblogging website post. Do give it a shot if you have the time. Uday Kotak over there. Meanwhile, two former whole-time directors who are in the key, who are in the race for being the key contenders for successing as successors of Uday Kotak. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly take a look at this. I thought this was really interesting and something that people should talk about, because Article 370, Jammu and Kashmir, that's something that everybody is constantly talking about. We've had 14 days of hearing, but the lecturer, who deposed in the Supreme Court on Article 370, who was, removed from his job, has been reinstated. It's great to put across these kind of information as well. The government of Jammu and Kashmir has revoked the suspension of Srinagar-based lecturer Zahoor Ahmed Bhatt, who was suspended following his appearance in the Supreme Court on the 23rd of August in a matter related to the abrogation of Article 370. The suspension was revoked by School Education Department of Jammu and Kashmir. The Directorate of School Education, where he was attached after suspension, stated in another order that consequent upon the withdrawal of order number 251 JNK Education dated so and so, Zahoor Ahmed Bhatt is hereby relieved from this. So he has been reinstated, and it seems like it's a positive step, because the CGI also came out in Zahoor Ahmed Bhatt's support.
Yeah, exactly. The CGI also was asking us the suspension, how did it happen? So interestingly, D.Y. Chandrachud led bench that the suspension of the lecture was not fair, is what they had in fact said. And Bhatt had appeared as a petitioner in person in the interlocutory application in the matter of Article 370 and argued before the Constitution Bench on August 23rd. After the suspension, Bhatt appeared before the Subha Mehta Joint Director School Education Jammu as part of the inquiry committee constituted by the LG and provided necessary documents. The Supreme Court had on August 28th asked the Attorney General to look into the issue.
All right, so a great step coming there from the Jammu and Kashmir School Education Board, the Directorate of Education. Varghese, it seems like this is something that we missed out. We should have taken this way earlier. 12 dead in 61,000 lightning strikes in Odisha
in the last 2 hours.
2 hours. How is that even possible? Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. Understand what's happening here. 12 people died in 61,000 lightning strikes in Odisha within 2 hours. How does that happen? And isn't that a weird weather phenomenon? And so many of those already this year. Again, throws light on why we need to talk about climate change every now and then, Varghese.
It is. I was reading that article also, and I was trying to actually figure out how. What is that?
How does that happen?
That statistic was very interesting.
61,000 lightning
So
strikes, 12
this is
people
how
dead
it
within
means
2 hours, just 2 hours.
A staggering 61. I'm reading from the online copy. A staggering 61,000 lightning strikes that across Odisha.
Take a look at those shots, Varghese. Visuals of those lightning strikes. So people outside, they're wondering if there is, a mistake that we've made in terms of the number that we have written over there.
And
well, no, 61,000 lightning strikes within 2 hours, 12 people dead.
And you know what the irony is? And these strikes may not be over with the Indian Meteorology Department issuing warning of extreme weather conditions in the state till September 7th. Now, a cyclonic circulation active over the Bay of Bengal may intensify into a low pressure area in the next 48 hours, and under its influence, widespread rain is likely to occur across Odisha. The intensity of the rain is likely to increase later in the week, is what is being said. So, four of the deceased in Saturday's lightning strikes were from Kudra district, 2 from Balangir and 1
Look at the incessant rainfall, Varghese. Cars are already stuck, and that's the lightning shot that you can see. 12 dead in 61,000 lightning strikes.
See, what scientists are saying. Weather scientists say that these unusual and extreme lightning activities occur when the monsoon returns to normalcy after a long break. Collision of cold and warm air masses create the perfect condition for such unprecedented lightning events. Well, there you have it.
I'm still appalled at the fact, how does a lightning strike, I mean, you've seen it in cartoons and in animations, but how does that happen in real life? I know it's possible, but you don't hear it every now and then. And 12 people,
And
all killed because of lightning strikes.
And the frequency of that lightning strike is what is.
So what does one do if the weather is inclement outside? How do you tackle it? Because the lightning can strike any time, and your body is a great conductor of electricity.
What do you need to do? You need to be safe at home. You should have.
Varghese, what if somebody's out there? How do they save themselves?
That's what I'm saying.
Pair of rubber chappals or rubber slippers is not going to do the trick.
I mean, don't stand under the trees. Try to find shelter as fast as possible. Ensure that your homes have these lightning rods that tend to conduct the lightning strike straight into the ground, earth it to the ground. So all these aspects are something that you can keep a tide on. But yes, of course, this is actually not a normal situation, Kabir. If they say that the warm air and the cold air mixing up, especially signaling the return of normal monsoons, and this is what could have led to this weird kind of weather situation.
All right, then let's move on. We also have some news coming in terms of, when we're looking at the weather, let's give the viewers another weather update. Because, well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a deficit rainfall that's already given us one of the driest Augusts possible. But this has sparked fears in terms of. I
just wanted to just show you something. That voice just before we went ahead, the voice that gave that countdown for your missions, Miss Valarmati, N. Valarmati, the voice behind Chandrayaan launch countdown, passes away at the age of 64. So, Indian Space Research Organization scientist N. Valarmati. So that is a sound you always heard when just ahead of the launch of all these rockets.
My goodness. We were just talking about, how Chandrayaan 3 has gone into sleep mode, and well, rest in peace N. Valarmati, because the voice behind Chandrayaan 3's launch and the countdown process has passed away at the age of 64. I'm just going to read this excerpt for the viewers. And we were just talking about,
so I was like,
rover
I just
and the Vikram lander.
We were just talking about it, and
Indian Space Research Organization scientist N. Valarmati, who lent her voice to the space agency's rocket countdown launches, an integral part. Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of Valarmati, madam, won't be there for the countdowns of future missions of ISRO from Sri Harikota. Chandrayaan 3 was her final countdown announcement. Former ISRO Director P.V. Venkatarakrishnan said, really, really hurts you at a day like this, when Chandrayaan-3, the Vikram landed the Pragyan rover, carrying out successfully all its experimentation and scientific inferences that it was supposed to carry out there. Sriharikota, the Satish Dhawan Space Center over there, from where Aditya-L1 was also launched, and that T minus 10 seconds, it's so iconic. It's what you remember about a rocket launch, is the voice, is the sound, Rest in peace, N. Valarmati, the voice behind Chandrayaan-3's launch countdown, has passed away at the age of 64, Varghese.
Sorry, I just interrupted you from...
no, that's absolutely fine. It's great that we're telling the viewers, and it's great that we have a photograph over there as well. We were just talking about, Valarmati and about Chandrayaan-3, and now we're learning about the announcer at the Sriharikota Satish Dhawan Space Center, passed away at the age of 64. Rest in peace, Valarmati. And if our lunar ambassador does not wake up, then maybe she is the closest in terms of being in proximity with our lander and Vikram, right up there, blessing the Indian Space Research Organization. All right then, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the weather that I was trying to give you, sort of like a context of when on the one hand in Odisha you can see that in an extreme weather event 12 people have died because of 61,000 lightning strikes. On the other hand, we had the driest of August, and that is leading to fears of droughts in Madhya Pradesh and several other key states as well. I'm trying to find that particular story, but scant rainfall triggers low yield fears in crucial states. It's right here on the top page, and those key regions that are facing the deficiency in rainfall are, of course, Madhya Pradesh. You've got West Madhya Pradesh, you've got Maharashtra, you've got Marathwad, you've got Kerala as well over there, Varghese, in terms of regions that have faced rainfall deficiency. Eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar have gotten -30 and -27% deficient rainfall. And this is really going to hurt West Bengal and Jharkhand as well. Now, crops are under threat, ladies and gentlemen. So, tomatoes, onions, and we've got the Mandi man here with us. He's probably going to tell us what was it like when you visited the Mandi last time?
One thing about last time when I went, the good part of it is the tomatoes, the prices have dropped, and I bought for 1 kg, I got it for 40 bucks. That is there. But there is slowly an increase in a lot of vegetable prices, like, probably by 5 rupees, things like that. And if you're looking at a drought, I think some of these key vegetables could again become very costly as such. And, it explains the kind of deficit rainfall that we are in fact seeing when it comes to it. And in fact, can you just tell the percentage of how much the kind of deficit that we are seeing?
A 47% deficit for Kerala.
That is huge, in fact. And for a state that sees almost 8 months of rains, that's a huge deficit.
Monsoon rains to return this week, but respite is going to be very brief, which is why the Met Department and various food security agencies are now ringing that alarm bell. And all of this is happening, let's not forget, amid rising inflation. The drought-like situation has farmers worried at a time when consumer inflation has accelerated. The monsoon has been 11% deficient so far and could further fan inflation if it impacts the summer crop season hard. And the crops that are under the threat, the rainfall deficit could dent yields of a range of the summer crops, including sugar, rice, pulses, maize, soya bean, and vegetables, which make up half of India's annual food supply. So the budget is going to go awry, your fridge is going to go awry, and the prices are definitely going to go awry. It is going to rain here and there, but the respite is going to be very, very brief. It does ring alarm bells over here now, doesn't it?
It does, and also I think the situation is not great for Karnataka as well. I think Karnataka is also facing around 25% of deficient rainfall, and then you have the Kaveri issue also coming up, and so it's not a great situation for all these key states.
Yesterday there were various memes doing the rounds that it's not raining where it's supposed to and it's raining where it's not supposed to, because India-Pakistan match got washed out. Thankfully, we saw our batsmen, give it a go, but the Pakistani bowling attack was splendid. Many saying that, we were let off the hook because of the rain. On the other hand, over here, when you want rain to happen, it doesn't happen. And when it happens, it just completely destroys whatever is in its wake. These extreme weather events, we talk about it in a passing reference, but there's more than what we know and what we can understand. Mother
This
Nature
is a year of
certainly at
El
work.
Nino, and therefore I think since it's a year of El Nino, we are going to expect such weather extremes. Hopefully the Pacific Ocean will clear, cool down in the next year, and things will be back. But again, in a world that is, or on Earth which is having a high fever, we can expect maybe another El Nino as well.
Right, absolutely. Okay then, so the Prime Minister is going to be in Jakarta before he lands for the G20 summit, ladies and gentlemen, and we're completely running out of time. We're going to be bringing you all the latest developments and details. That's all the time we have for you in today's Page 1. Many thanks for all the viewers who got down there in the comment section. Always appreciate it. We always go back to read out those comments and laugh it out as well. Sometimes gets a little abusive, which we don't necessarily appreciate. Follow community guidelines when you're getting down in the comment sections. 11 a.m. we'll talk about that Udhayanidhi Drought. Later on in the South Indian tune in the evening, we're going to take a look at the developments and the biggest story from South India. 7 p.m. we'll bring you the biggest debate, the most important debate that you should not miss out on. 8 p.m. all the international stories under the global lens, and a roundup, a running coverage of all the latest developments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Varghese P. Abraham and Kovind signing off. Keep watching News 9 Live.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it. It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. Streaming now.
Gautam Adani, one of the richest men in the world, or a business honcho, accused of manipulating the market.
अदानी जी 609 नंबर से दूसरे नंबर तक कैसे पहुंचे? सिर्फ एक सवाल पूछा, नरेंद्र मोदी जी, आपका अदानी जी से रिश्ता क्या है?
He has given the space, the railways, the airport, which he has no experience also. So the country's interest has been compromised.
Government has been very